Anytime, if you've listened to one all the way through, and if you have anything to say about Badsha, but we love him on this show. And that was called Right Up There. Now though, hope you're ready. It's all about legends in the game. And this week's legend in the game is UK Apache, a man who basically soundtracked the 90s for so many people. A man who, during the early days of drum and bass, did so much to take that genre and push it into new territories. A man who, some might say, with his theme tune, Original Nutter, alongside Shy FX, actually defined the beginning years of the drum and bass genre. It's definitely an anthem. You can still drop it at any party, anywhere around the world, and people will jump up, jump up. One of the recent, proper viral things that I saw was Shy FX at some, I think, festival this summer. And it was Shy FX pulling out UK Apache, as they say in the business, for one last time. And the crowd lost it. It's one of the most hyped reactions I've ever seen in my life. Now, I'm going to let the music do the talking. You're also going to hear from people like Shri, who used to work with him, D-Code, who's one of the biggest drum and bass heads out of the Asian scene, and also Taz, who basically really looks up to him. You're going to hear from them talking about why he's such a legend in the game. But first, check this.
This is No Filter.
Oh, wrong one. Rewind. It isn't No Filter. Sorry about that. This is Legend in the Game.
This is Legend in the Game.
That's the way we do it, y'all. That's the way we roll it, y'all. With an Asian vibe. We're coming alive, like
UK Apache.
That's the way we do it, y'all. That's the way we
alongside Nit and Sony.
With an Asian vibe. We're coming alive.
Uzi's rap.
Hey yo, Lord of Mercy, the wickedest sound. Make some noise in the ride. Sound of the Asian underground. Are you ready to get mental? Watch this. We're getting mad. That's the way we do it, y'all. That's the way we roll it, y'all. With an Asian vibe. We're coming alive. That's the way we do it, y'all. That's the way we roll it, y'all. With an Asian vibe. We're coming alive. Mad mental. For the players and all the figures. Moving the body, don't be lazy. I got the vibes to make it upgraded. Triple X, I'm Quadrant X. Don't play 8 and don't get vexed. 3's not enough. 4 more and I'm a name brand. From door to door. I'm walking through. Tell me, say what you gonna do. Coming to the place, no standing back school. And in the sky, I'm ball out. Boo! Lord of Mercy. Yo, for the chosen few. When we tell you something, boy. I'm original, lyrical, physical, spiritual. When I take it to the highest pinnacle. Write my own lyrics, but I ain't no criminal. Give thanks to praise God for the miracle. If you think mommy don't sound cynical. If you think mommy don't sound cynical. If you think mommy don't sound cynical. Don't sound cynical. That's the way we do it, y'all. That's the way we roll it, y'all. With an Asian vibe. We're coming alive. That's the way we do it, y'all. That's the way we roll it, y'all. With an Asian vibe. We're coming alive. Mad. We're getting mad. We're getting mad. We're getting mad. We're getting mad. Mental for the players and all the fakers. Moving the body, don't be lazy. I got the vibes to make it up crazy. Triple X when I'm Quadrant X. Don't play 8 and don't get vexed. 3's not enough. For 1 more and I'm rolling from door to door. Rolling from door to door. Name brand from door to door. Name brand from door to door. Name brand from door to door. Now you know the score. Oh my God. Name brand from door to door. That's the way we do it, y'all. That's the way we do it, y'all. The wickedest sound. Massive. Make some noise in the ride. If you know what I mean. Sounds of the Asian underground scene. Oh yes, the drum and bass moving up your waist in good taste as we're rolling the place. Yo, when we say mad. Come now, we're getting mad. Come now, we're getting mad. Come now, we're coming at ya. Here's the reacher, our nations we want to reach ya. Not the preacher, not the teacher. Yeah, we got to beat ya. Moving the body, you know you got up. Moving the body, you know you got up. Moving the body, you know you got up. Dig it down with a lyrical chat. That's the way we do it, y'all. That's the way we roll it, y'all. With an Asian vibe. We're coming alive. That's the way we do it, y'all. That's the way we roll it.
UK Apache alongside Nit and Sawney with the track Uzi's Rap. You are listening to Legend in the Game, and UK Apache, the voice you heard on that track, is our Legend in the Game. Now, let me tell you about that tune. When that tune fell into my lap when I was on Radio 1 with Nahal doing a show back in the noughties, heard the tune, and my jaw just hit the floor. You heard him. This man rides the beat. This man is a drum and bass MC in the great tradition of manic drum and bass MCs. But at the time, it was so liberating to hear someone going, that's the way we do it, or do it, yo, with the Asian vibe. I know it's just a simple set of words, but it became an anthem for a generation. For people at that time, you drop that when there were a bunch of Desies in a club, and they would absolutely lose it. And also, I think what UK Apache and Nit and Sawney did on that tune was totally marry up all sides of the Asian music scene. On one side, you have this composer, this really intellectual, heavy, deep musical dude doing stuff for movies, doing stuff for albums, multi-instrumentalist, and on the other side, you had a gully boy. Like all the great gully boys, literally becoming a conduit for the street, speaking the truth from the streets. So now you're going to be hearing from Shri and Taz. Shri, who used to work with UK Apache, but Marsh and Shri, some of you may remember, an absolutely brilliant band from the Asian underground times, who themselves realised, even though this man was killing it in the drum and bass scene, he had something to give, something of the brown excellence around him. They needed to work with him, and they did. And Taz, a modern-day Asian brother, a modern-day East Londoner, who just really looks up to UK Apache. Check this.
The Legend in the Game.
Hey everyone, it's your boy Taz. I'm a music producer and a rapper from East London. The first time I heard UK Apache Original Nutter, I think it came out in 94, 95, but I think the first time I heard it was about a year after it came out. I think it was 96 or 97. And the energy in that record, and then when I found out one minute he's Pakistani, he's Asian, you know, with the Jamaican roots, I was like, wow, like, it inspired me. And I remember, but that record was, yeah, that went everywhere like a hurricane.
Big in a jungle.
I mean, UK Apache, you know, very inspiring, his whole story, his whole journey. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure he was Original Nutter with Shy FX with Apache was UK Top 40. So just that alone is so, you know, inspirational, knowing someone like him from an Asian background. If he can do it, then obviously that gives us the push and the motivation that someone like myself who's, you know, been rapping for however long I have, you know, it just gives me inspiration that, you know, it can be done. And, you know, he broke boundaries. And yeah, man, it was just, when I think about it, it's wow. Like, you know, what a time it was. He started talking about, you know, trying to find your background, find yourself in apartheid and all those social issues he spoke about. You know, that has some way along the line has like had an impact on me, if you think of it, like with the music that I make, from whether it be Ayan, Jannat or Allah Ke Bande, it's, you know, it's had an influence in it. And sometimes we won't realize at the time, but as you grow up and something just stays what's the word? It just, it just gets into your brain. It gets into your mind. It's like it's embedded in you. It's helped me a lot. And listen, man, salute to UK Apache. He was a legend, is a legend, will always be a legend.
I am Shri Sriram. I'm a composer, producer, musician. My history, my background is with rock music, with electronic music, with Indian classical. And what UK Apache brought to it was he brought all these three elements in his own crazy way. He had the energy of rock with his, like what he does on Nutter, for example, or Get Up. He's got the beauty of, Nani Chivo, he's got very beautiful melodies. He brought all those elements. It's just that he was coming from a different side of the world, if you like, musically. He was coming from a different side of things. But what was beautiful to find out was actually, hang on, I might not understand this patois necessarily perfectly, but we actually come from the same world. That was very nice to discover. Working with the UK was very interesting. I mean, the first time he came over, of course, I heard original Nutter and I was blown away. I was just like, I need this guy. I need this guy to work with me. He came over, and the best way to describe working with him was my wife and my landlord, where I was renting at that time, were out, and they came into the house when UK was doing his vocal take in my room, and they thought someone was having a huge fight. They came running out saying, "What's happening? What's happening?" Oh, it's just someone singing, And that sort of describes his energy, and it was great. It was always about him reacting very quickly to ideas Marsh and me were throwing at him, and if he felt it, he felt it. If he didn't, he didn't. That sort of thing. And we had a great time together. Actually, he was a perfect frontman. I may be good at the instruments that I play and all that. I'm not a frontman. I can drive energy from various angles, but he was archetypal frontman who could get the crowd, who could make men and women happy with what we were doing, and get people screaming and jumping with joy and tearing their hair out, and that charisma, absolutely, that's UK Apache.
Life is one big road. Many a sorrow, many a joy. Never you try to take life for a toy. Some doing good and some doing bad, but these type of bad is driving me mad. But when the sun shines today, I go on my knees and I pray. But when the sun shines today, I go on my knees and I pray.
The legend in the game.
Tonight's legend in the game is UK Apache, and you were just listening to Shri alongside Taz talking about tonight's legend. And I love that little thing from Shri about a landlord and his wife. What's going on? Who's having a fight? Don't worry, it's just UK Apache singing in quotation marks. All right, I'm now going to hand you over to Decode from the Shiva Sound System, and also from Decode and Silence, someone who's just been deep and heavy and breathing drum and bass from day dot. And this is him explaining to you why this man is such a legend.
Now all the junglist woman, if you don't say your body good and body ever fine, how you jump up and buck wine, you can't patch along with the sound, man. I will become a kid of all the original junglist sexy woman. I will stop talk with them, man. All the junglist girls, them, man. Broke out, butterfly, war dance, smoke, anything you want, do. We're gonna go them now. Watch this now. Junglist girls.
Hi, my name's Decode, and I am a DJ, producer, and presenter. So I think UK Apache's influence on the music scene and even the cultural scene in the UK, back in the 90s came from more than just one angle. Well, especially from my perspective. I mean, I think people, need to be reminded that he actually comes from quite a revolutionary family. I mean, his family were involved in the anti-apartheid struggle, in the early days, and when they migrated to the UK. They were a big part of the fiction that was being experienced by, the Afro-Caribbean communities and your South Asian communities as well. He comes from, a background and, a sequence of experiences which I suppose instilled quite a forward-thinking, revolutionary mindset. And then if we kind of take that idea into, the musical context, he essentially revolutionized or I suppose progressed people's perception of brown people making non-brown music. Do you know what I mean? By embracing reggae, because when he first came into contact with it, for him it was a form of music which was kind of politically stanced, but had a positive message, so to speak. So through embracing that and its culture, he connected with Shy, and then he wrote Original Nutter. 1994, which ended up being a top 40 hit. And, then I suppose the rest is history. But from that point onwards, for me personally, what I saw was the effect that particular track had on, the Asian communities. And what I mean by that is it was the first time you would ever hear any type of music which wasn't Bhangra or wasn't anything kind of classically Bollywood being played at weddings. Now, all of a sudden, the last half an hour of a wedding would just rip out into, some thrashing jungle building up to Original Nutter at the end. And the point being is that at that point, what UK Apache had done was make, I suppose, non-Indian music acceptable, within Indian culture. And for me, that was just a massive kind of revolution. You just kind of put the figure aside for a second in terms of his ethnic background and everything to do with him as a human being, and to look at it from a musical point of view and from an energetic point of view, it was a concoction of, the hard-edged, heavy bassline instrumental energy you were getting from jungle music, combined with, a tone and, a lyrical deliverance which wasn't, predominantly Afro-Caribbean sounding, i.e. full-on ragga, or full-on dub reggae vibes. You could hear there was a slightly different twang in his voice, which gave it, its unique position in terms of, how it would be perceived and registered by the ears. That makes sense. And as you bring him into play and you combine the fact that, you had this Asian guy, thrashing out ragga lyrics on in a banging aim beat with heavy sub bass, just that whole experience, a whole encompassing experience was just something brand new. And it was exciting and it was massively inspiring as well, because he was essentially inspiring, his generation and the next generation as well. So there was all kinds of excitement from a physical point of view, from, an outward forward-thinking point of view in terms of life and culture. He was bringing through ideas and perceptions which just hadn't been conceived. At that point where he was hitting his peak, he was feeling very lost and confused, and he just didn't trust many people or the people around him at that time who were going to be a part of the process of his musical growth. So unfortunately, that was the point where he walked away. What actually ended up happening is that his work has grown way, way bigger than him, essentially. And we're talking about that one track, literally, which still has an impact today. And that is the legend of UK Apache, because it's still tearing up dance floors. It's still making people go crazy. And it was actually the start of a revolution, so to speak. That, to me, is what makes UK Apache a legend.
UK Apache, tonight's legend in the game. That was Decode, breaking it down from A to Z, or Z, depending on where you're from. So should we do it? Should we drop the tune? Let's do it.
No name, man. The original Nutter. Take in and take check. You can't patch along the shy of murder. All original gangsters.
Love this.
Here when we tell them now, yeah, you make come and imitate, originate, we come to originate. Alright, mate. Now what you doing, mate? Here when we tell them come and tell them, gears, I'm gonna stop talk. Watch me tell them, rude boy. Watch this. Big in a jungle. We will tell everybody, watch it now, man. Me a the nutter, original man, man, nutter, original man, nutter, original man, nutter, original man. Me a the nutter, me better than the bad boy, 'cause it a beard. Lock up the dead where you got Skywalker. In a one school, them call me troublemaker. Better than the predator and the dominator. Better than the garden and the dandada. You ain't quite butter. I tell you, say your flex man, not a show the border. Dibby, we tell you what, me ball. And in the world, sing like na na no no no. And in the world, sing like na na no no no. And in the world, sing like na na no no no. Yeah, no 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 no. Bad boys in a London, rude boys in a England, bad boys in a Jamaica, rude boys in a Kingston. Watch out. You never know the gangster, me say them in a jungle. Well, yeah. You never know the article, me say them in a jungle. Well, yeah. You never know shy effects, man, big in a jungle. Well, yeah. You never know you can Apache rule the jungle. Well, me a the nutter, original man, nutter, original man, nutter, original man, nutter, original man. Me a the nutter, me better than the bad boy, 'cause they da beard. Lock up the dead when you call Skywalker. In a one school, them call me troublemaker. Better than the predator and the dominator. Better than the garden and the dandada. I tell you, you can't patch him and I can't show the border. Yes, I am vex man, pull up on no lighter. We will tell the people, even a rude boy man, I am a murderer. Kill up any DJ on the corner. You hear me? Shy vex him is a murderer. I kill up any DJ on the corner. We will tell the even a rude boy man.
That's it, my friends. Legend in the game, UK Apache. Don't ever forget this, bruv, okay?
The Asian Network Breakfast Show.
With Half Score. It's Ojaman.